parade of Republican presidential candidates making their way to the Iowa State Fair. Let's have some fun. Former Senator Jim Webb on the stage right now. You can see him right there. Just one of the many attractions like the blue ribbon cows and the double sky wheel at the Midway. You know, all that stuff. Well, Governor Huckabee taking to the famous soapbox earlier today, getting close and personal with our Iowa voters. I see Carl Cameron, and he's got something there in his hand. Hey, Carl, is that one of those sausages with a pancake wrapped around it?
Yeah.
Is it?
This is actually a corn dog with bacon.
Oh, okay.
And it's only one of the 6-inch jobs. They also have 12 inches. You can get a turkey leg here that weighs about 3.5 pounds, and it looks like a brontosaurus thigh.
Yeah. Size matters when it comes to fair food.
I had my first Red Bull slushie here in the 2004 State Fair, so they're always innovating with good foodstuffs.
All right, well, try
welcome to the Iowa State Fair.
Yes, thank you. Try some fried cheese curds for me. Those are my personal favorite. But how are things looking out there?
Always do.
Yeah, it looks like you're having a ball.
Well, I tell you what, there's a new poll in Iowa that suggests that things are all topsy-turvy, that there's a bigger growing gap. And, of course, now that the State Fair is underway, for the next 10 days, 100,000 people are going to come through the gates every day. That's almost as many as who will vote in the GOP caucuses in February of next year. Mike Huckabee was here, the first candidate. He, of course, won the 2008 Iowa caucuses. Former Arkansas governor and a pastor, worked the fair both in 08 and 12 very aggressively, even though he wasn't on the ballot 4 years ago. And he was here again today, and while I was having a corn dog on a stick, he was doing a pork chop on a stick, and made the point of saying that Iowa really requires a lot of hand-to-hand politicking, and you got to be authentic, and you got to really reach out for folks. You can't just fly in and try to give a speech. Listen.
This is a place where people still build on relationships, and they don't suffer fools well. So if you come in and you try to pretend you're something that you're not, people here see right through it. They know who's authentic and who's a phony.
Anybody who'd eat a pork chop on a stick in front of a bunch of national TV cameras has got to be somewhat authentic. Huckabee wasn't deliberately and specifically talking about Donald Trump, but there's been a lot of questions in the Republican Party about his past and his evolving positions on some issues. For instance, he was for universal health care. He supported abortion rights and a variety of other things that seem anathema to the Republican Party. Rand Paul, not in the first caucus state, but in the first primary state of New Hampshire, where he's concentrating a lot of his efforts, took a shot at Mr. Trump today for exactly that. Watch.
Most of Donald Trump's life has been as a progressive Democrat, and that's fine, but when someone has a late life conversion, you wonder whether it's real or whether it's an act.
Rand Paul's been able to get into a lot of the headlines lately by going after Trump. He's dipped in the polls in the last couple of weeks because Donald Trump has clearly been dominant, and the rest of the field is sort of bunching up together, particularly after the debate with folks like Carly Fiorina and John Kasich getting a bounce nationally.
Carl, you're such a trim guy. I'm wondering what else you're going to eat. Of course, we care about politics, too, but we're thinking about the food right now.
There's usually they come up with 5 or 6 new innovations every year. And they're trying to impress people. In this particular year, some of the stuff they're doing is actually much more healthy than in the past.
Oh.
The meat sundaes and the huge burgers and the various different ways to eat corn and pork here.
It's
never
amazing.
take a back seat, but there's a few folks who are talking a little bit about tofu. They're talking a little bit about more eating greens and things like that. It's not really in the spirit of the Iowa State Fair.
Right.
And, there's an awful lot of talk about on the east and west coasts, people thinking that, these are flyover states and everybody out here is just sort of a farmer and they don't pay attention to much more than what's going on in the pasture. Out here in Iowa, the farmers who make pork and beef feed the world, and they are very, very sophisticated scientists. And the folks who grow the corn, they're not just growing corn. This is energy. This is ethanol. This is a state that helps a great deal. And every time you put that pump in your car and it says it's got a little bit of blend in it, it's the corn from Iowa. Don't take them for granted. These are very, very, very important voters, and it's the heartland and the breadbasket of the country.
Well, you're preaching to the choir here, because if you didn't remember, I'm a Midwesterner myself.
Who would not?
So know exactly what you're talking about.
Red Bulls and corn dogs.
Love my folks in the heartland. All right, Carl Cameron, thank you so much. Have a great time there.